Erika Kirk, she's just, something's not right there,
When she did that speech in front of the little pulpit thing on Charlie's podcast.
Mr. President, my husband loved you.
It felt like I was watching a weird, bad actor in an awful Hallmark movie or like a Lifetime movie.
This chair. Every day he loved it. He loved what he did.
And I was just like, what the
It's not, it doesn't feel sincere. Yeah.
No, not at all.
Balls.
What?
No, I just said all balls.
Oh. What a great way to start off the episode. Balls, guys. So, hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Doom Scroll podcast. So today, the biggest thing that has been on the internet, in the news, whatever, has been the whole Candace Owens versus Erika Kirk battle. And if you haven't picked a side yet, now is your chance because it's heating up. It's getting a little spicy. So we wanted to talk about that and all the latest, along with some other things. But we're not going to lie. We've, had a pretty chaotic week. So I feel like the Candace Owens and Erika Kirk thing that's just been floating along the surface of every news outlet is probably what we're going to touch on the most. But Calvin, how's it going? How's life? What's new?
It's, I feel like it's the same old, same old. Work, doctor's appointments, life, my grandma broke her hip. So that was kind of the big event for the week. Other than that, it's been pretty chill. Just a lot of work. How about you? How are you holding up?
It's been pretty good. Also a lot of work catching up. I feel like I took a little bit of a breather step back during like recovering from the whole spine infection situation. And now I'm trying to like get back in my groove of things. I gave myself grace and I'm trying to like still give myself grace, but not so much that I just become a slacker. So trying to find the balance between slacker and, giving myself grace. It's hard. I don't know. It's a learning lesson for sure.
And
but
you just got your PICC line removed, right?
Yeah, I did get my PICC line out. So no longer have any foreign objects in my butt. Well, I do actually, but not in my arm that's going down like to my heart essentially. So now I just have a follow-up MRI at the very end of the month, December 31st, so I can still get that covered by insurance. And they wanted me to do it 4 weeks after finishing antibiotics. I was like, what's the latest, like soonest we could do it? Like before, they're like, how about December 31st? I was like, deal. Otherwise, that's like $400 out of pocket at least. Jeez. So yeah.
Has your insurance been affected for next year?
Oh yeah. Yes. So that is going to fucking blow. Not to get too crazy into the details. I had the option to stay on the same plan that I had, but it would go up. The premium would go up $200 something, which doesn't seem that much, but it also added on a 5,100 or 6,100 or something deductible. And so literally my insurance is not covering anything until I meet that deductible. And then that's not even the out-of-pocket max. After the deductible, there's a 20% copay. And so I was like, oh, that is not going to work for me, especially right now. I'm still high use. Everything that happened recently, I'm still got more doctor's appointments, more imaging and stuff that's going to take a while to iron out. So in order for me to have basically the same plan with no deductible, it goes from about $600 all the way up to $900. So that is basically what I'm stuck with right now because I would be paying, I don't have enough money right now to be paying straight just doctor's appointments and or like imaging scans, or I don't know if I might end up with a back procedure, whether it's a cortisone shot or I don't know, surgery. I don't know. So I just can't take the risk of having that high of a deductible, unfortunately. So yeah, it sucks big time. But how about you?
At least from what I've seen so far on our documents, we're still going to be okay. But I feel like that can change any day, you know. So I'm praying that, you know, that things stay the same, because like I said, you know, obviously, like, you know, I have medications that I have to have, you know, I have, you know, testosterone and all that stuff, you know, but if I had to go off of it, you know, I could, you know, I would survive. Long term, that would really mess me up, but I could, you know, survive until I find something, you know, maybe go to Mexico and get some illegal hormones. Just kidding. But my wife
there's
literally,
ways.
right. But my wife literally needs, you know, their epileptic medication, you know, to live. It's definitely, you know, a scary situation, you know, thinking about, you know, what would happen, you know, if we can't afford insurance. But I just had doctor's appointments, and I found out that I'm probably going to have surgery next year. So, you know, if that doesn't happen, you know, who knows? So yeah, it's definitely scary. And, you know, you going through what you're going through, like, that's not something to joke around with. And I think, you know, that's kind of a, you know, a good, you know, look at our healthcare system, because no one should have to choose between paying their mortgage or paying their rent or being able to put food on the table and having insurance. No one should have to choose between, you know, an emergency like you had and being like, I can't afford it, so I'm just going to have to ignore it, and then, you know, something bad happening, you know. So I don't know. I really wish that, you know, our country would, you know, get their shit together and figure out how to actually help the people who live here, rather than, you know, tear us apart.
Yeah. I think what the rich folks or the billionaires or the people who are so opposed to things like universal healthcare or just an option that's affordable at this point, it doesn't have to be free. Can it just be affordable? And they fail to remember that helping other people also helps them. It helps the state of our country. It helps just the overall, you know, happiness scale of shit. Like, even, you know, big corporations should care, because people who have more money in their pockets have more money to spend on the shit they're trying to sell. But also, people tend to spend more if they're happy and feeling secure. So everyone, it affects everyone, whether, you know, you want to realize it or not. There's always a domino effect.
Yeah, for sure.
But anywho, I know we are years and years, maybe never years away from universal health care in the United States. I feel like we are one of the last developed countries to just be so freaking far away from that.
Yeah, which is sad, because, you know, I mean, being raised in America, we're taught that America is number one. America is the best country in the world and all this. Only big developed country that doesn't have universal health care. Every other big country has figured out how to make it work. And yeah, there's problems. No system is perfect, right? But I think the big thing is you have countries that are putting their citizens first versus putting, you know, corporations and big pharma first. It's like, let's make sure that, you know, if everyone's getting sick, especially with, you know, our food quality. I just saw Costco just had to get rid of like 250,000 eggs that are recalled because they've got one of the worst cases of listeria, you know, like, and it feels like almost every single day we're getting another notification about food issues, you know, and then all the processed stuff, you know, it's probably why my stomach's messed up the way it is, you know, like it just feels like everything that this country is doing is to make us sick, but now not even a way to like get better, you know?
Right. And it's like, don't get me wrong, you know, we make choices and stuff that isn't always in our favor. But at the same time, it definitely doesn't make it any easier to make good choices when you're in survival mode. So it's like,
Survival
of course.
No, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I was just saying we can't, blame everything on the government and all that, but it's just like, um, it's hard not to at least just be like, oh, this part of my life is extra, extra hard because of the way that things are set up, and it's okay to be mad about it. So, yeah.
No, absolutely. And I think it's also an education issue. Like a lot of people don't know, one, you know, the health issues with certain foods. We're not really like we're taught the periodic table, or not the periodic table, but the the food pyramid or whatever. But like we're not taught, one, the difference between like what fast food does to you versus what cooking food does to your body. We're not taught, especially people in lower incomes, we're not taught how to take $20 and really make as much food out of that with fresh ingredients, versus someone's just going to be like, well, it's going to cost me this much to go grocery shopping, so I'm just going to spend $20 and go grab fast food. And especially, I mean, right now, fast food is about the same cost as it would to go out. So, that's,
it's not cheap anymore.
That's the whole thing too. But, that's my generation and the generation before, that's what people relied on. You could get a cheeseburger from McDonald's for $1 and a small fry for $1. You could walk away with a decent sized meal for $5, and, you could make $100 be your food for a couple weeks, and it's not that way anymore. But it's trained people, one, because there's so many like food addictive additives, in fast food. It's trained people to go to that, and I think our whole system is upside down.
It really is. And it's getting to the point where even junk food is, not necessarily cheaper, especially in the long run if you count in the bad health effects. But that all has to do with like food subsidies and all that fun stuff. But yeah, education, definitely. There's so much that we're not really set up for in life. Why aren't we ever taught? I mean, there's family and consumer sciences as far as like how to balance a checkbook and shit like that. But, teaching us how to be good with money beyond just the basics, finance classes in high school, I feel like would be great. Even, business classes, even if it's like, an elective, if you're interested in business and stuff like that, so that you can learn to be a responsible adult, because there's so many people that don't learn. And then you start off essentially going into the world in debt because you're 18, you start getting sent credit cards and you don't know what you're doing. Luckily, for some reason, I think I just got into my head that credit cards were bad, so I never did any of that. Luckily, but I know there's plenty of people who just were like, "Oh, it's like free money," and they just use credit cards, and then they get in so much debt before they even get started. But nutrition, definitely, that's one of my main passions in life, is trying to teach people about nutrition and stuff like that. And I wish we could get more involved with the education system and get it all put in there. I know Jamie Oliver had this whole series where he tried to do just that, and unfortunately didn't go so well. And I think that's just another thing that comes to our government, where it's just like school lunches are awful as well. Not only are we not teaching our kids how to care for themselves once they are on their own, and yes, it is the parent responsibility at the same time.
But if the parents don't know it either,
yeah, like where did they? Yeah, it's like at a certain point, it's like, yeah, it is up to the parents. But if the government is thinking about what kind of people contribute to a functioning society, they should make sure that everything is like kind of covered on a base level to make sure that this person can function, even if their parents did not teach it to them or something. Yeah, I don't know.
I think even
can't say I
food
know the
safety is
answers.
important, you know, like we've, you
Oh my
know,
gosh.
a
Yeah.
lot of people don't know, like, how long after I cook a meal, how long is it good in the fridge? You know, we have a lot of people that get sick because they push the boundaries. You know, I've seen so many videos of people talking about how, you know, they got super sick, or they know someone who died because they ate, you know, rice that they put in the fridge and, you know, whatever, and just didn't know. There's a lot of things that's just not common knowledge that should be. I mean, as someone, you went to culinary school, so like, you know, all this stuff. I feel like a lot of this should be common knowledge for our youth growing up.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't even like think about that until recently, where we actually went to this Korean barbecue restaurant. It's called KT Town or something. It was Avery's birthday, and he really likes that place. But I don't know if you've ever been there, but you go and you get like your meats and stuff, and the table has a grill in the middle of it. And so everyone uses the same grill, and you grill your meats and your vegetables and stuff like that, which the business model is kind of genius because they're making the customers cook their own food. However,
They're responsible for any mistakes.
yes. However, you wonder how much like the insurance for this place would be, like liabilities, because people don't know food safety. And there were times like we had to like make sure the kids were not like putting a chicken next to steak, or, you know, vegetables next to the chicken, the raw chicken. And I just wonder, you know, how many people end up getting sick because they don't know not to put these things next to each other. And then, you know, just in general, there's a lot of people that end up giving themselves food poisoning because
They don't cook the chicken all the way through. And yeah.
And that's also another thing. If we, you know, I worked in the food industry, and cooks get paid fucking shit money. It's awful. A lot of hard work, stressful situation. And you get paid minimum wage. But the people that are being paid minimum wage, you're trusting with your food that can potentially kill you. And people don't really understand or remember that fact, that food handlers are actually like, do have to have a certain amount of knowledge and responsibility and care in order to keep you well. So not only should you make sure you treat them well, but just remember, you know, like before you shit on food workers, know that they can literally make you shit your brains out if they don't handle your food properly. Sorry. High horse.
No, that's completely valid. I've seen so many people be rude to, whether it's servers or cooks, and it's just like that. They're the people cooking your food. Like, be polite, be nice, be respectful, you know. But some people are just not nice.
No, and I was telling Des the other day how I was like, if I was really good at math and had no anxiety and no social anxiety, I would hands down go to medical school, just because, like, fuck yeah, why not? And then I was just like, but instead I went to culinary school because I'm bad at math, and and then I was just like, it's basically the same level of stress, but actually a life or death situation. Whereas like the kitchen, it's like you're stressed out of your mind for no fucking reason, just because people want their food fast and they want it now. And so you are busting your ass to get people their food as fast as possible, because apparently they're going to starve to death if you don't get it to them within 5 minutes. And it just kind of also is like, damn, where have we come as a society where if your meal takes longer than X amount of time to get to you, you start getting impatient and you start getting mad. And it's just like, there's someone cooking that food for you. Like, how great, like how awesome is it that you can just sit there and someone is going to prepare your food for you? You know, it's just like we forget just the simple things in life. And I don't know where I was going with that, but just be nice and be grateful.
Yeah, no, I think that's something that, you know, people could use in every situation, you know, not just food service, but in the medical care field. You know, we have, you know, nurses busting their asses pulling, you know, double shifts, and, you know, and they get treated like shit, and they get, you know, talked down to by some doctors, they get talked down to by patients. And obviously there's also nurses that are just assholes, but, you know, sometimes it's because they've had a lifetime of being treated like shit and not appreciated. But almost every field, people are, you know, whether it's even just like, you know, a plumber, I don't want to have to deal with a clogged toilet or whatever, so like if someone's going to come in and do a job that I can't do or don't want to do, I'm going to be super respectful and thankful. I'm not going to sit over them and be like treat them like shit, or think that I'm better than them. I don't know. I think that's just something our whole society could do with, is just no matter what you're doing, like we should all just be treating each other with respect and empathy.
Yeah, exactly. I think this all comes to mind because I think of all of these, everyone in this administration has lived such a different life than the average American. And it just blows my mind to think that people would think that Trump would understand the everyday common struggles of the middle class or someone who has struggled financially ever. Like, this guy probably has never done his own grocery shopping. He's never had to worry about money. He's just, on top of it, he's a narcissist. So he's basically he is incapable of putting himself in other people's shoes. So I think when we're picking a president, we need to make sure, regardless, like if there was someone who I disagreed on most things about, but I could tell had a good character and did have the best, people's best interest in mind, and was not a narcissist and had empathy. And then there was a candidate who seemed like a narcissist, but aligned with absolutely everything that I would normally like vote for. I'd probably pick the dude who had empathy, because it would just make it makes a better leader in general. Things are going to run a little smoother, and maybe he'll change his mind in some things because there's empathy in the picture. But
No, I honestly think that, we should have people representing us who have walked in our shoes. Whether it doesn't mean that they have to have, been lower income themselves, but, maybe grew up in a family who was normal American, lower class or middle class, just making it. We've got a lot of people, like you said, a lot of people in office who come from money, and have not had the experiences. And so their skew of reality is just far different from what most of us have to deal with. And so they're going to make choices based off of their knowledge and their experience, and that's what we have. I mean, we have a lot of, people who are now retired who are like, well, you should, like, you make so much money now, much more money than I did when I was your age, and you should own a home, and you should have this, and you should never be, wherever, blah, blah, blah. But they had a different life than we had. When they were our age, it was a lot cheaper to buy a house. It was actually affordable. You could buy a brand new car for like $3,000, and now it's like a brand new car is like $50,000. So life has definitely changed. But if you haven't experienced struggle yourself, you're not going to be able to truly empathize with people who are going through that.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm just like, who's the next kind of common person that we can get that's at least experienced real life, So that's who I'm going to keep my eye out for. It's like, who is the most relatable and down to earth person that we can put in office next, that actually has good qualities that you want in a leader.
I see a lot of people pushing for AOC.
Yeah.
I think she's great. I think she's got, obviously, definitely better than, she's closer to like the Bernie Sanders, more socialist. But yeah, I don't know if she would be able to pull the numbers that she would need, especially she's younger. So it would be hard. But, our past couple presidents have been pushing dementia age, so maybe it is time to look for someone younger.
To the one scale, one end of the spectrum to the other. It just goes so young. You're like,
we need to elect someone who's like 17 years old,
right? Well, it's funny because you could claim like, oh, well, AOC, she doesn't have enough experience and she's very young, but she has more experience than Trump had when he became president. So that's not really an excuse anymore. People still say it, and people said it about Harris constantly. And it's just like, well, what the fuck qualified Donald Trump to be president? because he just was rich and had money and power.
He was a business owner, but he like
Right.
bankrupted other companies and like didn't pay his employees, and so yeah,
Evaded taxes and stuff. So it's like, so you're saying his
he's
qualifications,
the ideal American.
right? So he is what we should, look to be. We should look to, be part of a sex trafficking ring. We should evade taxes, in order to save us some money. We should just lie constantly and, just not give a shit about people who are less fortunate. All those things. Yeah, definitely model citizen for sure.
Absolutely.
America. Oh man, we just went on like a million little tiny rants, I think. So
Jump into it.
yeah. So yeah, to get to the Candace Owens versus Erika Kirk ordeal. So the latest, if we want to rewind a little bit and get some context, when Candace started this whole investigation into the Charlie Kirk thing, because they were close friends, she toured with him for Turning Point USA for a few years, I believe. And so she said that only a few, maybe it was like 2 people or something, could stop her from doing the investigation that she was doing. I forget who the other people, maybe it was Charlie's family or something along those lines. And then she said, the other one is Erika Kirk. So if Erika told her to stop, then she would stop. Erika Kirk she's doing a press tour right now, which is the weirdest fucking thing to do after your husband was just publicly executed. But here we are. She's on a press tour, and someone asked her directly what she thought of Candace Owens and what she's, been doing with the investigation. And I might see if I can put in the clip, but when the lady asked about Candace Owens, her face just it changed just pretty dramatically. You could tell the moment, it just processed in her brain, and she went from her happy face person to she was just scowling, and she was like, just stop, just stop. So Erika has officially told Candace to stop, and Candace is like, stop what? Stop telling the truth, stop asking questions. So, that's kind of the latest, and people are being like, hey, you said you would stop. Erika said to stop, so it's time for you to stop. So now it's pick a team, guys. Basically, they're on a cancellation campaign to try to cancel Candace Owens, which is kind of hilarious because they were the anti-cancel party. But, they're also the hypocritical party. Don't get me wrong. The left has been hypocritical in many ways over the years as well. So Candace is still going on. Basically, right now, sorry, I'm trying to see. So Candace accuses Erika of Meghan Markle syndrome, wanting privacy now, but posting casket pictures and doing media, which I've been seeing that float around a lot. Do you remember? I don't know if you came across it. So it was days later where she literally posted her crying over Charlie Kirk's dead body. And it was just his dead hands. And then she's crying, and her blinged out rings are in the picture and stuff. Really fucking weird.
Yeah.
So Candace is finally starting to pick out all the things that everyone else has been picking out from the get-go. And I don't know what she was waiting for, because everyone's been suspicious of Erika for a very long time. Maybe she just wanted to really try to give the benefit of the doubt to her, or she was waiting for this moment, which I wouldn't be surprised for either. Yeah. So what do you think? What team you on? Candace, Erika?
That's kind of hard to pick any team. I think I'm definitely not
lesser of
Team
two
Erika.
evils.
Yeah, I definitely, if I had to pick 2, I'd probably be Team Candace, but she's also kind of spiraling out a little bit too. So it's hard to really take anything that she says. But Erika Kirk, she's just, something's not right there, and so I can't go with Erika.
Yeah. I had never seen her. I didn't know who she was. The first time I ever saw her face and heard her speak, I happened to tune in, was when she did that speech in front of the little pulpit thing on Charlie's podcast, addressing everyone about Charlie's death. And it felt like I was watching a weird, bad actor in an awful Hallmark movie or like a Lifetime movie. And I was just like, what the
It's not, it doesn't feel sincere. Yeah.
No, not at all. And that was my first little sense of, that was weird. That was not what I was expecting. And it just keeps getting weirder. And why would you do a press tour right now? And she's supposed to be like this grieving widow, and she took over Turning Point in 2 seconds and was like just all about it. She was on doing his podcast and shit like days later. So everyone, even people on the MAGA side, have been questioning, like, what is her deal? This is a little weird. There's still people who stand behind her, of course, but there's a lot of people that are like, yeah, this is weird. I don't know what to believe anymore. And just everything about her just screams there's something wrong. That's my gut feeling.
Yeah, I agree.
I think what always gets me the most is when she's like dabbing her tears with like her Super Bowl size rings on her fingers, or literally like asking for money after Charlie died while she's like dabbing her tears with probably like $1 million rings on her fingers. Yeah. Christianity in a nutshell.
Well, I mean, that's also, it's kind of similar to what Trump was doing a couple weeks ago, where he was telling people that he needs money to get into heaven, to do the things that would get him into heaven. And it's like, well, if you're a Christian, isn't the whole thing like all you have to do is ask for forgiveness and like believe, in God, that you'll get into heaven? It's not necessarily what you not financially do.
Yeah. I mean, technically, depending who you talk to, it's supposed to be like, as long as you accept Jesus Christ into your heart as your Lord and Savior, and believe Jesus died for your sins and prayed the sinner's prayer, you're good, you're golden, you're set. But that being said, like, I call bullshit from the outside of being like, so you can just be an awful fucking person your whole life, and then maybe you get cancer, and then you decide to, become a Christian, and then you're fine. But of course, their argument is like, oh, you never know when you're going to go. You could be hit by a bus crossing the street, and then you go to hell. But it's just like, it just seems weird to have a faith that like, oh, it's not based off of your works. You can't earn your way into heaven, but like you kind of can.
You can Trump could earn his way into heaven by like living by what the Bible teaches, right? Like,
yeah.
Well,
Well, it's like, okay, so when it comes to Christians, if you don't accept Jesus into your heart and you never like say the prayer, then you're not a Christian, no matter like how good you were. But the funny part is, there's nothing about that in the Bible. Like, there kind of is. There's like John 3:16, whoever believes in me. But there's nowhere in the Bible that says you must pray this exact prayer or else you're going to hell, because goodbye, motherfucker, it has to be perfect. Like, it's just so bizarre what Christians and stuff kind of just made up, and people just take as 100% fact of stuff. But yeah. So yeah, the Christian one is confusing. You can't earn your way into heaven, but you still want to make sure you do good things, because you just never know. God's watching you. He might punish you if you don't. So speaking of getting into heaven, there was some newly released Epstein photos. I don't think Trump's going to be getting into heaven anytime soon, if we're going based off the photos.
Yeah, we'll see how he spins this.
Yeah, and I don't think the Clintons are going to heaven either. But we kind of already knew that. So yeah. But I guess do you want to talk about this one? And
Sure.
All the latest.
So House Democrats recently dropped 95,000 photos from Epstein's estate. It shows Trump when he was younger posing with redacted women on a plane. Whose plane? We don't know. Clinton with a signed pic with Ghislaine Maxwell. There's also photos of Bannon. Surprise, surprise, Woody Allen, wouldn't think that he would be someone who would be associating with anyone who is a sex offender. So surprised. Bill Gates. I believe there was also one of the popes. I can't remember which one. And there was also tons of photos of weird stuff like Trump themed condoms and sex toys. So that was interesting to see. I don't think really any of them were shocking, just more confirming. I did see that Bill Clinton released a statement saying that, he didn't know Epstein's connection to sex trafficking at the time. And at this point, we don't care, if there's evidence that you are connected, if there's evidence that you were on the island, if there's evidence, you should be prosecuted for that. If you did something wrong, you should be prosecuted. Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. But yeah, it's definitely interesting looking at. I'm sure we'll have to pop some of those photos up so people can see them if they haven't. But yeah, it's definitely can't get away anymore. I mean, not that he really was able to, but Trump can't really say I didn't know the guy. There's plenty, cards and photos and all this, spending Thanksgiving with him. So
yeah, there. I just don't understand how they can deny or just believe anything he says about that at this point. There's so much evidence that at bare minimum, he knew him more than he says, bare minimum. So if he has to even lie about that, he's fucking lying about other stuff. Were you born yesterday? No. Like, you might want to believe him, but there's a difference.
Yeah, I don't understand what it is with these people who are just going to say like a bald-faced lie, knowing that there's proof against it, and then they just act like it's nothing. We had the same thing with Pete Hegseth, when the whole thing about the bombing happened, and he was like, well, I had no idea about that. And it's like, you literally gave the order. You literally did this. It's people just thinking that we're gonna take whatever they say as fact, which there are people that do that, but most of us hopefully can use our brains and see the difference.
Most hope, like, that's a generous word to use, most, but hopefully, yes. I think the I think I like call her, what was it? Blah, blah, I can't talk. I think I drop her name like every podcast, but again, the journalist that I follow on Twitter, she does such a good job. So Amber Woods, her handle is at AmberWoods100. If you do not follow her, definitely do so, just because she covers, it's a little bit more than the Epstein stuff. It's like some other things here and there, but mostly the Epstein stuff. And everything she uncovers is just, it's crazy. And I've been reading through her tweets, and she's been releasing some of the stuff that, they've been kind of sorting through. But it shows just how connected he was to everything. And that the sex trafficking was only one piece of what he did. He was basically a source that powerful people went to when they wanted to get something that they needed from someone, and they would know that he had blackmail on them. So I get this feeling that people would pay him in order to get blackmail on someone, and whoever basically paid the highest price would get what they wanted. And then they had something to hold over this person, probably any other world leader that has power. So when they say it's a national security risk to release the files, that's probably what they fucking mean, which is also a reason they need to release the fucking files, because But who knows if Putin doesn't have some crazy blackmail on Trump and he's over, telling Trump, like, if you release those fucking files, we'll just blow up the whole United States. We'll nuke you guys. And then, so the Republicans, that would be, I'm not saying this would be funny, but what if we were literally voting for the release, which is literally voting for our demise, but we just don't know it. So it's just like, but regardless, we deserve to know. No one wants the world continuing to run how it is if it's being run by a bunch of really, really corrupt assholes, which we already know is true. But how can we change it? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Follow Amber Woods. The whole, the rabbit hole is only going to get deeper. Mm-hmm. And then there's the question of, is Epstein really dead? Because there's the question of, did he kill himself? But is he dead? We have to remember that too. Like, you never actually know if someone's dead or alive. We didn't physically see his body, So there's so many things that, we probably just do not know because all of these people in charge keep it from us small people. I
feel like we're gonna have to do another conspiracy episode and just
I think so
down
too.
Some wormholes.
Yeah, it's so fun. I mean, it could get dangerous. Careful, guys. Don't go believe in anything too crazy. But it can be fun to explore and think about the possibilities. I don't think
maybe next week, unless knock on wood, because I don't want any big crazy new stuff to happen. But if it's a lighter week next week, maybe we should do like a Christmas themed conspiracy theories.
Ooh, yeah, like conspiracy theories about the Virgin Mary and baby Jesus. I'm just kidding. I have a theory about that, and my theory is that she was bullshitting.
She knew what she did, and she was just like, I didn't do anything.
It was just a miracle. It was a miraculous conception. And they're like, yeah, we believe you. This whole time she had to play it out for her whole life.
Mm-hmm. She's like, fuck, this was a bit I wasn't ready to commit to.
Right. So then the question really is, so then who was actually Jesus's father? Probably Joseph, which is disgusting. I mean, not disgusting, but I was thinking Joseph was probably
Joseph was her dad.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, wait, is Joseph her dad? They're just telling everyone it was a miracle. Because I imagine.
Can we look and figure out how old Joseph was and how old Mary was?
Yeah, because I know she was very young. So I'm going to look that up right now and ask, because that's why my brain was like, that's disgusting. How old was Mary when she had Jesus, and how old was Joseph?
ChatGPT is going to go back in time and actually find this.
It's like, okay, let me ask Jesus himself. So for Mary, most historians and scholars figure she was a young teenager, probably around 13 to 16 years old. That's based on Jewish customs back then. Girls often got betrothed around 12 to 14, betrothed and married soon after. Some early non-biblical texts, like the Protovangelium of James from the 2nd century, say she was about 16 when the key events happened. Key events, huh? For Joseph, it's even fuzzier. The Bible just calls him a carpenter and a righteous guy, so no age mentioned. Traditions split here. Older ones, especially in Catholic Orthodox circles from that same paint him as an older widower, sometimes way older, like 80 to 90. Yeah, to emphasize Mary's perpetual virginity and explain Jesus' brothers as step-siblings. But a lot of modern scholars and some biblical clues, like him being active as a carpenter and traveling a ton, lean toward him being younger, maybe 20s or 30s, or just not a super old dude. But
still much older than 16.
Bottom line, still rape. So it most likely was not a virgin birth. It was just one that maybe was a little shameful. but maybe not back then because, maybe that's why Christians don't give a fuck. And they're like, well, it's not being a pedophile if, they're like over 10 or some shit. And you're just like, yeah, I forgot.
Are you listening to yourself?
Yeah. I'm like, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, fun times. But so if anyone ever wanted to know, how did we get on that topic? Oh, yeah, Christmas conspiracy theories. Wow. Sorry about that, guys. This is quite the not high or anything either. So, yeah, speaking of, there is more controversy still surrounding Pete Hegseth. I don't know why I can't say his name sometimes. You know how he allegedly ordered a double tap strike on suspected drug boat. So the first hit destroyed the boat and shit, and then the second one killed the remaining survivors that were holding on for dear life in the water. So people are calling it a war crime, and they're demanding for the video and audio to be released. So Hegseth, he stands by whatever they did. He quote unquote calls it fog of war. Same call again. I don't know. But bigger picture, part of Trump admins, narco strikes, ethics questions, piling on him. Like, hey, like what the actual fuck? So yeah, we're still in that same little pickle there. Was it a war crime? Should he be fired or should he resign? I've seen some little things here and there saying that they were actually probably going to fire him, but I have not seen anything come of it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what is real or not, but yeah.
I also saw that the U.S. Commandeered a oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela this last week, which I haven't read much into it, but I don't understand why we would be commandeering a oil tanker.
For the oil,
that would not be the right reason to do that.
No.
But for that to be allowed off the coast of another country is kind of interesting. So I'm surprised that that's not getting attention.
Yeah. I think we'll have to see if anything more comes of it. I know there's been some increasing tensions with Venezuela and stuff. And I know we were worried we're going to be going to war with them as a distraction for the Epstein shit. Still a possibility with things kind of heating up. But we'll kind of see. I didn't see any more developments in that area for the time being. But I'm sure we'll probably hear more about it as time goes on. So yeah, I think the biggest thing right now is still literally the Erika Kirk and her press tour and Candace Owens and picking a side for the world of MAGA. So yeah.
It's MAGA's version of Team Edward or Team Jacob.
Legit. So it's Candace versus Erika. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which I guess I never picked a side. If I had to pick, I guess I would pick Candace just because it doesn't make sense, and I feel like she's allowed to ask questions. Do I think she could also be a grifter? Sure. But I feel like we basically know that there's something wrong with Erika Kirk, so we're just gonna go with that. Should we go into what we were watching? We just kind of ranted a lot and then talked about 3 things that we kind of were able to pay attention to a little bit this week. So sorry, folks.
It was a little bit of a slower week, I feel like. When it comes to news.
There just wasn't any new developments per se. It was more just updates of things that happened the previous week, and it happens sometimes, and so it is what it is. But yeah, we can continue to I'm sure the Candace Owens and Erika Kirk thing will draw out for quite some time. So we'll just have to keep updating on that. And, Trump's in office for another 3 years still. So we got to keep this
Don't
podcast
remind me,
going.
we're not even a year in.
I know it feels like forever, but we should just make a commitment to keep this podcast going at least until he's out.
Maybe by then we'll get like 5 subscribers.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I think we have like 15 so far. So we're getting on up there. Might have about 16 by the time he's out of office, and I think we could be proud of that. Progress is progress.
Yep, absolutely. But going into what I've been watching, I've been continuing that show, The Rookie. For some reason, I thought there was only like 2 or 3 seasons. Apparently, there's 8, so it's gonna take me a while to catch up to that. But that's been kind of like, I kind of watch it in the background when I'm working. What else I've watched? Critical Role, which I've talked about, which is like a Dungeons and Dragons kind of campaign. They play the game every single week. They've now had Vox Machina, which is the cartoon based off their first campaign, and now the Mighty Nine, which is based off their second campaign, is now out on Amazon Prime. So we just watched the first 6 episodes that are out of that. So that's really good. What else have we watched? We still need to watch Stranger Things. It's been hard to get back into it just because I feel like whenever there's like, you're getting close to the end of something, like I have a hard time wanting to watch it because I know it's going to be over.
Yep, same.
So that's been, I want to watch it, but then I'm, I don't know. And then we just finished Has Been Hotel. That one was really good, funny to watch. And we just started last night. It's on HBO Max. It's called Heated Rivalry. And it's a show about 2 hockey players, but they end up being gay, but they're like secretly gay. It's very steamy, very interesting. So yeah, we watched that last night, and we ended up watching, I think, two, maybe 3 episodes. But that one was really good. What about you?
Let's see. Still making our way through Top Chef. We are on season 17, and it's Top Chef All Stars, which is fun because it's kind of a few of your favorite, or like more, what's it called? A few of the better chefs picked from each season, and then they put them all in one season and they compete against each other. So that's fun. I'm trying to think of. So outside of that, we started the P. Diddy documentary, but I think we got 2 episodes in, haven't quite continued on from there. Gosh, there is something else that I watched that I feel like I wanted to mention, but it is slipping. Oh yeah, there's a lot of good things coming out. So really just, again, enjoying Top Chef because it's a good way to kind of check out and stuff. And there's so many goddamn seasons, we can do it forever. Oh yeah, we watched Christmas Vacation. So holiday movies. We watched that the other night. So that's the other one. Christmas Vacation is usually my favorite just because it's hilarious. But it's also very interesting as you get older, you start to relate more to the parents and like the adults of Christmas movies versus the kids. So it's almost like
seeing it through new eyes.
Yeah. So you watch the same fucking shit every year, but every year it's almost like you relate to different characters. So it still is almost a new perspective every time you watch it. And this year, especially, I'm just like, man, the poor guy just wanted to have the best Christmas for his family. And then you just realize, like, he's actually such a good guy, like wanting all this for his family and stuff. And I think as a kid, I kind of just saw him as like a fuck up, or just like this crazy guy who lost his shit when things went wrong. And then I'm thinking, like, there was a scene where he was kicking the Santa and the deers because the lights wouldn't go on, and he was just pissed. I was like, oh man, I was like, that's how I'd feel inside. I was like, I get it, I just want to like throw Santa as well. And so, yeah, it's always interesting to kind of get different perspectives. Or if you watch Home Alone again, you're like, holy shit, the parents were our age. And I just, it's so weird. So weird because you watched it thinking, pretending to be Kevin or wanting to be Kevin. And now you're like, holy fuck, I'm the parent. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
Life got serious real fast. So yeah. We'll probably watch some more. I think other favorite Christmas movies. I like A Christmas Story, and a lot of people think that's like super boring, but I don't know. I like it.
I mean, it's a staple. Like that would play on TNT nonstop,
24/7.
Yeah.
I loved that. Christmas Eve, 24/7, and I would literally go to bed, fall asleep watching A Christmas Story. That was my Christmas tradition. And the Santa Claus, definitely top 3, and then Elf. So I'd be like Christmas Vacation, The Santa Claus, Elf, and A Christmas Story would be like my top 4. How about you?
Top 4 probably would be Home Alone. You know what? I'm gonna say Home Alone 2 probably beats Home Alone 1 for me. So Home Alone 2, A Muppet Christmas Carol. Let's see what else. Probably the Santa Claus and the classic like clay animation Rudolph.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah, that's an old one. But yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And speaking of holiday movies or Christmas movies, I just saw it for the first time. Have you ever watched The Family Stone?
Yes.
So I just watched that for the first time, and I was very surprised at how it turned out. It was definitely a chaotic family, but it was I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good. It was like a dramedy. There were like the serious parts, and then there was the funny parts, and I think Des and I watched that last year. So yeah, it's a good one. Yeah.
Another good staple Christmas movie, if you haven't watched it, is Just Friends.
I have watched that one. That one is definitely pretty silly.
A little Christmas chaos.
A little Ryan Reynolds. And, I'm not going to lie, he's not my favorite. I generally don't enjoy his work much. But, yeah, that one had its moments.
You know what? I think the real star of that movie is Anna Faris.
Oh, definitely, 100%. So
I constantly have like the songs that she sings in that movie like just playing in my head randomly throughout the year.
Sounds like you just have her playing through your head throughout the year randomly.
Between that and Scary Movie, it's pretty much Anna Faris quotes just playing through my head.
Yeah, she's pretty attractive, so I get it. I feel like she is. She kind of looks like Britney Spears, but one who didn't go off the rails. But
acts like she went off the rails.
Yeah. It's like her character, but not her real character. Unfortunately, Britney's character is her real character. Poor
That's
Britney.
a whole nother video we could do.
Right. Like I have been seeing. I follow her on Instagram because it's like a train crash you can't look away from. Parts of me, I do feel genuinely bad for her.
Yeah.
But it's rough because you can see like this is why she was in a conservatorship. Definitely mental health struggles, but just don't know what to do there.
Yeah. I think that's also the hard thing when the public gets involved with people's lives when they don't know all of the information. None of us are doctors, psychologists. We're not treating a patient. But it's also like the show of force of people who really care about someone and, also don't want to see injustice, because we see that also, with celebrities getting taken advantage of. So that's definitely a hard situation. But I think, when it comes to Britney Spears, we just want her to be healthy and happy, and I don't know.
Yeah, that's a sad one for sure. And
Yeah.
I do believe that, her dad and stuff was taking advantage of her. I think that narrative is real, but I also think the narrative of her needing help is real. So it's like,
Two things can be right at the same time.
Exactly. It's like, how do we get her in a place where she's getting the right kind of help and not being taken advantage of, but enough so that she can live her life and be happy and not, spiral? Or I just don't want to wake up one day and her be the next celebrity death. It's like, not that I knew her or have this personal connection or whatever, but we grew up listening to her shit. You feel like you grew up with her. So it's almost like this person you used to know or you went to school with, and you would never wish bad on them. And that's kind of what it feels like. So you're just like, oh, I wish you could like be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we see that a lot with, child stars, especially, back in the day. But I mean, we've, I think, you got, Corey Feldman, who's been off on one for a while, and he's got a lot of, obviously I don't think anything's been proven, but he's got a lot of allegations about stuff that's happened to him when he was a child star, but you see like the Drake Bell and all the stuff that, was happening to the
Amanda
child
Bynes.
actors on Amanda Bynes. I mean, yeah, these are people that were, staples for us growing up that, we watched, and then you see, it's hard to tell if, these people's lives would be the same if they weren't in these situations, or if stuff that happened to them caused, this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why we went off on a tangent about this, but
I don't know either. We just keep doing it. We're just like, we don't know what we're talking about, so we're just going to keep going.
Today's episode. Amanda Kirk, Candace Owens, Pete Hegseth, and Amanda Bynes.
Yeah.
What do they all have in common?
Craziness. I mean, I worry about Justin Bieber too. Like, that poor guy.
He's not looking good.
Every time I see him, I feel so bad for the guy. Like, what do you do at that point? Like, I feel like he just wants to live a normal life, and he can't even walk outside without people. And it's just like, could he move? I mean, that sounds like he shouldn't have to, but
he's so internationally famous that I think.
But what if he moved to like some random fucking ho town, Montana, where there's just like cattle?
I think you'd probably have crazy fans that decide to move there just to be around him like that. I mean, but also like, I think like, I mean, again, not being in that personal circle and seeing things firsthand. I mean, there's a lot of videos that I'm seeing of him that look like he's definitely on something. And so that's really sad. Again, that's a staple of a lot of childhood celebrities is people get hooked on drugs. It's easily, readily available. People are pushing it on them. And, when you're dealing with, basically kind of a loss of your freedom when you're that big of a celebrity, and all the things that come with it, like that's an easy thing to try and, get away.
Yeah. And I think that there's something really damaging where I don't think this is going to be limited to child stars of the 90s as we move forward. But I do think there's something that sticks with kids and is very damaging about getting public opinion about their bodies or etc. when they're very young and don't even know how to process that. That's when you just take it to heart, and it builds this really shitty foundation about, how you perceive yourself and your worries of how others are perceiving you. And it's like with the internet now and Instagram, you see it already happening. Why are kids these days so much more depressed and anxious? And it's like, because they're getting constant opinions about their looks, how they act. It's just like all of the things that child stars go through back in the day. I mean, maybe or maybe not, minus the sexual abuse that might have occurred behind the scenes. That's also a huge factor. But it's also the fact that like we're just not built to take in that much public opinion. Adults aren't even built for that, but at least you know how to sort through it a little better as an adult. When you're a kid, you're just a sponge. You absorb everything. So that's going to have a lasting impact.
And people are disgusting. I mean, I remember like the early 2000s, there was that like online countdown of when Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen were going to be 18.
Oh my God.
You know, like, you know, the fact that people were thinking about these people, you know, these girls before they were of age in a sexual way is just absolutely disgusting.
It really is. I can't imagine having like a worldwide countdown or, you know, nationwide countdown of my legal age because someone wanted to fuck me. Like, it's gross. So, yeah, it's like no wonder they're all fucked up. Do you really blame them? It's awful. So, yeah. People, be kind. There's like real humans in the world. No matter how out of reach you might think they are, even people like Taylor Swift, you know, she sees things and hears things just like everyone else. She just has a lot of money to fall back onto just in case she feels like she needs to cry. She can just wipe her tears with her millions of dollars. But, you know, other people don't have that privilege. So.
Yep, I agree. We shouldn't be judging people based on their looks, based on, you know, and, you know, we should be judging people based on their actions. You know, if you are a dick of a person, you should be treated like you're a dick of a person. But other than that, like, we need to just get over ourselves. You know, I think, you know, part of it too is, you know, we judge people to make ourselves feel better, you know, so we'll put someone down because, you know, if I'm pointing out someone is overweight, that makes me feel better because I feel like that makes me, you know, whatever. If I'm pointing out that someone is ugly, that makes me feel better because, you know, it makes me feel like I'm, you know, whatever, you know, like it's a vicious circle and it helps no one.
Nope. No one. So be kind. Just, you know, please don't be an asshole.
Be kind, rewind.
Yeah. Rewind back to, I just remembered. So the things that are coming out. So the Testaments, Handmaid's Tale, it's coming out next spring, I think, 2026. Okay. I'm like, how the fuck they get that out sooner than the last season? It took them how many years to create the last season, and then like that ended. They're like, oh, next year we've got a whole new series for you. You're like, what? Okay. And then the next season of 1,000 Pound Sisters is coming out January 5th. And have you kept up with it?
I haven't watched the last season.
Dude, you have such good shit to watch. I'm jealous. But yeah, so I love that show. It's not just about, it's like, yeah, I'm a nutrition and fitness coach. So I always like to get into, you know, hear people's stories and, you know, the psychology around everything, and watching and observing helps, I feel. But also that it's just like, they live in Kentucky. They have like no money. And they fight all the time. The family is just loud and, you know, but you can tell they really love each other. And like they help each other out when they need it and stuff. And that's like the heartwarming part about it, is like they can yell and scream and be like super trashy and stuff. But at the end of the day, you're almost like, can you adopt me? Like, they're like, you know, just close, and they're hilarious at the same time. So I love that show because of that. Stranger Things is already, there's like the next installment though. Isn't that like Christmas or something? God, there was something else. Oh yeah, The Pit. That's a show on HBO Max. Very similar to the old ER. Noah Wyle is the star in it. And it was supposed to be a spinoff originally, but I think there were some legalities to it, so they had to not. But you can still tell that it's kind of a spinoff without being a spinoff. So that's a really good show if you like medical shows. It's a lot less drama as a, like, you know, like romance drama like Grey's Anatomy, and a lot more like probably the most realistic medical show they've ever made. So
okay,
yeah,
I've heard a lot of really good things about it.
Yeah, It's really, really good. So highly recommend. Yeah.
Okay. I still think you should watch Interview with a Vampire.
I don't know if I'll get to that. I don't do well with like fiction, like vampire fiction, you know, like Harry Potter is about as far as I'll go. And then I'm like, can't do it. But yeah, maybe one day.
Someday.
Yeah. You have to tie me down and like tape my eyes open. Yeah. Like, watch it. Anyways, so should we wrap this up before we find something else to randomly go off about?
Talk for another 45 minutes about child stars.
Yeah, probably could, but probably shouldn't. So we'll go off on a tangent next time. But yeah, thanks everyone for listening. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure to do that so you hear next week's episode. And share, you know, if you like what you listen to, or give us a thumbs up. It all helps us out. Every little thing helps, so we can keep bringing you the Doom Scroll Club news of the week. But Calvin, did you have any last words for the folks before we leave?
That's all, folks.
Yeah. I just pictured you with like a carrot in your mouth, like Bugs Bunny style. Oh man. All right. Yep. That's all, folks. We'll talk to you next time.
And that's all, folks.